as quickly as possible when you find problems in the building journey in Ghana or in life in general, right? Hurry up and figure out a way to get to a place of solutioning. Hello and welcome again to the Ghanaba Kwaku YouTube channel. It's been a while since I came on video. I haven't done one of these since I left Ghana last month, and I figured it's about time I came back to give like an on-camera recap of what happened in Ghana, lessons learned, etc., etc. So yeah, here we are. But in the first place, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has either subscribed to this channel, watched any of my videos, shared any of the content, commented, on any of my videos. Thank you. This channel will not be what it is without you. And from the day that I started sharing my content to now, I'm a different person. And some of that is because of contributions from people like you. So I thank you. For the purposes of this video, what I've decided to do is essentially just, go through a few, maybe highlights, right? Go through, the idea is to do highlights, lessons learned, what I'm thinking about doing going forward, what has been going on in the project since I came back, and what the next steps are, for my personal journey and also for BCS. So let's get into it. So for highlights, if you watched any of my videos, or if you watched, for those who followed and watched every single one of them, thank you. But if you watched any of my videos and you've been on this journey with me before this last trip, you know that I changed. I made some changes when I was in Ghana. One of the biggest things I did before I went to Ghana, actually in the beginning of the year, even before I went to China, was to create a group, a WhatsApp group. And I wish I'd done this sooner. I created a WhatsApp group that had all the key players on the project in a group. The idea was this: if I send information to all of them in one voice, then there's no loss in translation. And I believe getting us together like that made it good, so we're no longer working in silos. Originally, the mindset was to have the foreman be the person who I channel things through, and then he organizes everyone else. If I were, for example, if I was going to ask the guy who's doing the balustrade to do work for me, I made sure that him and the foreman were in talking with each other. Even though I am the one who contracted the balustrade guy or my metal guy, Yao, I made sure that they know each other, that they're in communication with each other. So whatever we do is in lockstep. One of the first things that I decided to do when I got to Ghana was to hold a meeting. So the very first Saturday that I was in Ghana, I held a meeting, and at that point, some things started getting exposed, and some behaviors that, I decided to start addressing. I'm a very patient person, and one of the things that I try not to do is to do anything knee-jerk. So I give time, and I give space, and I give grace, but sometimes I give too much of those three things that I just mentioned. And sometimes it ends up biting me. Now, at that meeting, one of the things that I wanted us to do was to do a walkthrough of the project. Some things that I saw on video before I went that made me halt what was supposed to be work that was done before I get there. So we went through the site, did a walkthrough, saw things that I saw that I didn't like. There were some, challenges that, while I was exposing things, the foreman would try to nullify what I was saying, by showing technical prowess. But on a lot of them, when he tried, he actually exposed them. But I believe in working as a team. If I had it my own way, the person who touched my project from the beginning will be with me all the way through the end. Once we had the meeting, my initial idea was to have us all be on the same page and then carve the path forward. On the day of the meeting, my foreman was late. We were supposed to show up at 7. I showed up on site, I think around 6:30. The only person who beat me to the site, apart from Andy, was the plumber. Victor beat me to site. When I got there, he was sitting, outside the gate waiting. My foreman showed up at 8. We were supposed to meet at 7. And for me, that was not good. That was bad leadership. Right? I showed up before 7. So I'm expecting that he will be there not long after, so that him and I could, have a game plan for how the meeting was going to go, but it didn't end up that way. Now, after that meeting, what ended up happening was I decided to not do any tile work, right? So fine, the tiles had delayed a little bit, but I decided not to do any tile work. Why? Because I knew that everything that was on the ground floor that I saw that I didn't like, we needed to figure out a way to change. And even the conversation of trying to figure out how to go forward from that point was difficult. I started seeing, almost like reluctance from my foreman. But one of the things, I think one of the blessings on this trip was when I realized that some of the work that was on the ground floor, the flooring and the screeding, I didn't like. And I told myself that I was going to make those changes. And then also, just before I left, I got word that some of my shipment would delay. I shifted gears into trying to figure out a way to make the landscape better. So at that point, we ended up talking with Quinn, who came and joined the team and was part of the meeting that day. And I can tell you, one of the best things that has happened to me on this project so far is Quinn. Because her presence, and I think, yeah, that's actually true. She is the first female that has been on the team. And she brought something to the team that allowed us to essentially demasculine, in a good way though, right? Things that people would, oh, I'm the guy, I'm like this tough guy. In her presence, conversations were a little different, right? It made people a little more, should I say, circumspect in their delivery. But even that, there was still that, attempt to show that I've been building for a long time, so I know what I'm talking about, kind of thing, even if the reasoning wasn't right. Case in point, I saw just by looking that, a space around the kitchen area, the out kitchen, didn't slope right. And I could tell from just looking that it didn't slope right. And in addition to that, there was, like green moss on the floor. And to me, that was clear that it meant that when water came into the space, like when it rained sideways and it came into the space, the water didn't go back outside. So it was stagnant, and from that grew the moss. And when I raised it, it's like, no, my boys and I, that's foreman. My boys and I, we did a good job with this, and we made sure that it's level, all of that stuff. We did an experiment later on. We poured water on that floor, and that water eventually ended up in the main kitchen. So the slope was not done right. When we were having the conversation in that space, there was a little bit of a back and forth. People bringing their ideas, different people bringing different ideas. And at that moment, Quinn stepped in and asked that maybe we've brought out a lot of points. We need to go and ingest the points, digest them, ingest them, and then come up with a game plan, which was good. Once Quinn had that experience of what had been going on the site, what I wanted, not being able to get the people to do what I wanted, I believe what she didn't want to do was to disappoint me. So the next day, she asked me if it was okay for her to seek technical input from someone else that she's worked with before. And her technical input was essentially to just, it would have been confined to the compound, right? The landscaping work that we're doing. Because I did a walkthrough with her that day, and I pointed out some things that, she needed that extra help with. And when she asked me about it, one of the good things that I like is she did ask. Some people wouldn't ask. They'll just go ahead and do it anyway. So when she asked me about it, I told her I was okay with it, right? Anything that will make my project better, it's worth a try. And I even said thank you to her for, thinking about not disappointing me from jump. So fast forward, we're supposed to meet with George, the engineer, but because of the work, schedule that I was running in Ghana, I left before they got there, and they had to come and get the key from me at home. So they went and did their walkthrough without me. And as part of the walkthrough, some decisions were brought up on what to do over the front door, stuff like that. And when that conversation was relayed back to me, I decided to have a meeting with George on site. And everything that he was saying about what he thought about the compound and what we could do, for example, extending the driveway to the left, all of that sounded good. So what I decided was to start pointing out some things and see his reaction to them. The first one was the front porch, which we had to lay 3 times to get right. By the time I was having this conversation with him, we hadn't laid the third one yet. We'd done 2, and the balustrade has come and sat on it and exposed the problem. Now, when I pointed that to him, he said, oh, we could, if you want me to, I could work with the team. I'll give technical advice. Long story short, he wasn't there to take anyone's job. He was going to just be a consultant on the project and point people how he thought they should go, and then they could work as a collaboration to make sure that I got what I wanted, which to me, I liked. Now, when the opportunity came for my foreman and him to meet and collaborate, my foreman didn't show up. There were other things that happened. Sand got, delivered to site. I controlled that part because I wanted to be a part of it. So I let him know that I was getting the sand delivered. And when I said that, he said, okay, in that case, they didn't want to come and wait for sand. So when the sand comes, I should let them know. The day the sand came, I called him, he didn't pick up. And eventually ended up being in a situation where, we decided not to come to work. It's like, I'm already here. You guys decided when? Oh, it's raining where we are. But, I'll wrap up the foreman story here with what I wish I could have done better. I should have leaned in on him delivering ideas to me sooner, running technical things through me before it was done, right? I trusted that he could do the work, and that is on me. And a lot of times I gave him grace because I felt like maybe, he was running too many job sites that he would leave his workers at, multiple sites, and then supervision was lacking. And I remember even mentioning that to him. But hindsight, I should have asked for clear things on the front end instead of trusting, right? Because we formed a relationship, then I felt he knew the vision, so I could relinquish some of that. I won't do that again. No matter how good the person is that I'm dealing with, no matter what kind of reputation they have, I'll be, hip to hip with them. I'm not going to usurp their authority. I will give them leeway to do professional work, but I will need to check off things, right? Everything that I've seen with George now tells me he knows what he's doing, but it's still a young relationship. And I used to trust my previous woman too. I'm not saying I don't trust George, that I'm looking for loopholes with him, but I believe that we can work. And I recommend this for anyone who's also building in this space. Have a relationship with whomever you are working with, but let it be a professional relationship. If you can keep it at that, and you can be clear on what you ask to deliver, and you have a way of measuring those deliverables, then you can know whether work is being done the right way or not. Every one of us wants to get the right thing done. The foreman wants to get, I would hope that every foreman wants to get paid, right? And you don't get paid if, the right thing is not done. So I will give, grace again and say sometimes it's the artisans. But even the artisan needs supervision. And without that good supervision, the work will go left. And sometimes if you're not lucky, like happened in the case of my garage door, if you're not supervising from jump, it'll go left quickly. And by the time you see it, it's too late and you can't fix it. Unless something needs to be broken down, right? You cannot redeem. You would have to start from pretty much scratch. So, for me, the biggest highlights on this trip was the fact that I was able to take a step back, look at what I had in front of me, look at what we've done so far, and thanks to the tiles being delayed, not be rushed to lay tiles. So I could stop, slow down, and look at what was on the ground and make adjustments. I believe in one of my videos, I mentioned that if it's possible, we should take a trip. You the builder, take a trip to the site. Don't do any work. Don't plan to do any work. And when I say take a trip, I'm mainly talking to us building from the diaspora, right? If you make a trip to Ghana with no intention of doing any serious work, but to see if you can do any redemptive work, if you can do that, do it. Because what that will do for you is it will let you take stock of what is there and correct what needs to be corrected without the pressure of having to deliver what you came down to do, which normally for us is making a milestone step, right? For me on this trip was hopefully to lay tiles and install the garage door. I didn't do either. So my biggest tip for anyone who's doing this here, from here, like I am, right? And when I say from here, I mean outside Ghana, not necessarily in the US where I'm at. But my biggest recommendation to you is to not go with a plan to run your clock on a Ghanaian's clock. We normally go on a 2-3 week, 1 month schedule, and we expect the average Ghanaian who doesn't have that same pressure of time to conform to ours. Sometimes, or most times, that doesn't work. So that's my biggest tip here. Be conformative to what is there. Like find a compromise with the Ghanaian artisan. Don't go and push them to run at the speed at which you came to run at. It normally doesn't work, right? The 2 weeks pressure that you have on you, they don't care about. Even when you do it the way I thought I was doing it, where I set the tone, I'm going to come out this time, like I didn't surprise them. And this is what I'm hoping that we do within the time that I'm there. It did not work, right? Because they are running on their own clock. And they've run on that same clock for so long. You coming to impose your, systems work kind of clock on them normally doesn't work, right? So to save yourself some of that headache, figure out a way to scale back your clock a little bit. I'm not saying halt. I'm not saying go at a Ghana speed, right? Don't go on Ghana man time. But realize that the other person you're dealing with is running on their own clock that they're used to as well. And for you to force them to do it at your pace might not be natural to them. And that is where mistakes come in, right? So please, let us figure out a way to do that a little better. So those are some of the lessons that I've learned that I hope that you learn something from. Behind the scenes, okay, so when I was leaving, we were working on trying to fix the garage door the day before I left, but we couldn't do that. Actually, 2 days before I left, but we couldn't do that. So what has been going on now is some corrective work on the inside. I have some videos. I'll insert some here, snippets, but I want the entire work to be done. Then I'll do an entire video about what happened after I left. So the floors on the inside has been worked on. Some are still being done because there were some things that we had to talk about because the plans that we had on the ground ended up changing because of some things that we didn't know existed, right? For example, like a floor beam between the garage and the wall and the rest of the house. So we had to make adjustments, and some of those things are still being worked on now. So it would be unfair to, the crew to bring you work that is not finished because some places need to be, adjusted as we go. So the floors in the house, so bedroom 1, bedroom 2, living room are being readdressed. The garage doors are being reframed. And the compound has taken a different shape. You saw a lot of it while I was there, but there's more work that has been done. I might insert some here. I don't know. In the recording of this video, I don't know if I'll insert some things here, but I might. But once again, I would hope that once the work is done and we wash our hands of this phase that we're in, I could bring you a video that was, a good reflection of the work that was done. What else? So that's behind the scenes. So what's next for me? What's next is this. I'm still unsure if I want the garage doors to be installed in my absence. I have a feeling it can be done right. And I also have a feeling that because there are 2 doors, I could attempt one and stop if it doesn't go well, right? Kind of like the same process that I was thinking about when I was in Ghana, in case I didn't have time. So I might use the same approach. If they install one and it's good, then we can install the other one, right? And the thing about the garage door is you have to start from the track. So if you cannot put the track together well, and I don't feel comfortable with you putting the track together, then maybe we don't do it at all until I'm there, or I'll find someone else to do it. So that's one thing that is next on the project. I still have to finish the compound, and there are things that will probably need to be done before I can continue. For example, the what do you call them? The downspouts, right? Because I have gutters in place, but I don't have downspouts. And because of that, when the rain comes heavy, the water flows from the gutter openings and they pour onto the floor, and they splash everywhere. I have a feeling some of the water damage that I see, right? That dampness that I see on the building is from that. So one of the things that I probably need to do is to get those gutters and downspouts fixed so that I can redirect the water from the building itself. If doing that shows promise, then we don't need to do the damp proofing process, that the injection process that I was talking about. But if we do need to, then that process needs to be done before we do any further work on the landscape. The idea is we don't want to put landscape down, right? Put the grass, the plants, and everything down, and then have to disturb them because we had to rip the wall, the plastering off so we can inject, right? So that is one thing that I need to think about. So the downspouts, getting them in place and seeing their effect on the plastering work and the wall itself, the building itself. Another big to do after that will be to figure out, the rest of the driveway work, right? Constructing pillars is expensive, so I need to raise funds for that. And once I get that part done, then I can say we are at the point in the landscaping process where I could take a break, and hopefully figure out a way to tie in, the putting in plants, putting in trees and stuff like that, so that they grow with us. Another thing that I need to work on next is the tiles installation, right? That is the next major thing I need to do inside the house proper. Install the tiles. The top floor, we had a lot of good, like we took levels and it looked good. There are probably some anomalies somewhere, but we could have done the tiles on the top. The reason why we didn't do that is because all the, the chiseling and hammering on the ground floor could have disturbed those tiles, and I didn't want to go through that. That's the reason why we didn't work on that part, on the tiles. The good thing is the tiles are there. If we're able to put the garage doors in place, that secures that space. So for me, my next big thing inside the house is to lay tiles, and after that, re-measure the doors. When I was in Ghana, I noticed that some doorways were problematic, so we would have to resize some of them, reframe some of them. So once the tiles are in, we can take that step and redo all the measurements, decide on what to do, whether to take measurements and then, reframe when the doors come or reframe before the doors come, whichever way. But I'm not going to take any door measurements again until I have the flooring done, right? The tiles done. So that's the next major step that you probably will see. And I do not believe I will let tile laying start in my absence. I don't know, I might have a change of heart. But for now, my stance is any major work, right, I want to be there for. I guess there can be the argument for, the tiles, you can let them start from a space and then see how it goes and then let them continue. But I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know yet. Comment in the, add a comment below. Tell me what you think. Should I allow them to do the work? I'm going to have a tile team do the work, right? That's the idea so far, to have a tile team do the work. But even that, I'm not sure I want to do it in my absence. Let me know what you think. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some people say do it, some people say wait, but I would want to know what you think. Now, so those are the things, major things for the project. Another major thing is we did set pipelines to get ourselves ready for Ghana water. So maybe the next big thing outside of like the functional things in the house will be to have to start working on getting the meter for Ghana water. So we have both the borehole and Ghana water on site, right? In both cases, I'm going to reverse osmosis treat, whatever source it comes from, especially with galamsey and all of that. I don't know if I can trust Ghana water to deliver, clean water all the time. So I will put in reverse osmosis as part of my process. So I think that is it for the personal project. I wanted to, say thank you to everyone on the BCS side, right? Thank you to all the people that, came to site to visit while I was there. Ninoy, thank you. You're one of them. For my, my new family in the Cebu area, for Jam GH, thank you, Project Jam GH. Thank you for trusting in me and in BCS. Coming to us to do something for you even when we didn't have BCS, right? Trusting me with your money, when you'd never met me before, that means a lot. So I appreciate you and I thank you for that. Same goes for Project Agape. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, my sister Nathalie, for the trust you put in me. Thank you, Lauren, for the trust that you put in me as well, with your funds to source a sample of windows for you, a small section of your windows until you're ready to do the rest. Thank you. I can't wait to see what you do with them. My buddy Ike, thank you so much. One of my friends in Canada. Thank you for everything that you do. BCS wouldn't be BCS without every single person who has trusted us with your hard-earned money. We have people in Europe, we have people in the US who've supported us thus far, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you are thinking about it but on the fence, I promise you, we're doing good work. We are good people. You can trust us. Others have, and so far we haven't gotten any, bad reviews per se. When there are, issues that happen with, with orders, we figure out a way to try to redeem ourselves. So I'll say, on the BCS front, thank you to everyone who has already come through us. There are some things that I think need to change with the operation. One of them is, how we process, how we communicate with people. Currently, all we do is we have an email come to BCS, our, Gmail email address. And from that, either myself or Alex will respond to you. And then we create, a channel, communication channel, either on email, we stay on email, or we move it to, sometimes on the phone, or WhatsApp mainly, because of the ease WhatsApp present us, so we can, share information back and forth, like big files and stuff like that. Now, one of those things, one of the main things that doing that process does is it takes a lot of our time. So what I'm thinking about doing is, to team with, and I've actually started the process, but I just haven't put a calendar together yet. And I'll share the link here. I want to be able to get us to a place where we can have time slots for consultation. The reason why that is important is this. If we put on the calendar that we have a time slot that you reserved, you can come and you can rest assured that we are committing every single bit of that time to you. What we've been doing now is, once the relationship is created, we can talk at whatever time. If it's good for me or if it's good for Alex, we both have work, right, outside of BCS that we do. The main breadwinner jobs, our regular 9-to-5s, we have those. But we've been spending a lot of time helping, people who come to us, for help in sourcing things out of China. And sometimes it eats a lot into, family time. So the idea is simply this, and I brought it up in the beginning, and I'll bring it up again, and I want to formalize it this time. We are going to be a paid consultation service, right? And I say paid with a caveat. You book your time, you pay for it, right? That cements your time on the calendar, right? Because without the payment, you will not make the calendar. But our promise to you is this: that time slot that you booked is rebated, right? When you come and you use our services and we get you, an invoice, and you cement the invoice, that funds that you paid at the time of consultation, that goes back to you. Let me try to see if I can explain that a little better. For example, you book a time slot on the calendar for 30 minutes, and let's say you pay $50 for that 30-minute slot. When you order whatever it is that you're coming to order through us, doors, windows, tiles, the invoice that we give to you. When we give that invoice to you, we will put that $50 that you booked for that 30-minute slot as a rebate. So it will reduce the invoice amount. Essentially, what that does for you is it makes sure that we are committing a time to you. It's not going to be a situation where, oh, you know what, you call me at the wrong time, I'm going into a meeting, right? So I'll get back to you later on. So that's one of the shifts that we want to make. I'm going to put a link on the screen. I'm going to point you to where you can find it. And if you want to book time, you use that link, you book a time. I'm still working on, finalizing it. So I'll bring more information later on. But that is the shift we're making. And I believe that is a win-win for both of us, right? Both parties. Coming to talk to me, and I'm committed to you because we reserve the time slot for you. That's a win for you. Where that is also another win is we give the money back to you when you order, right? And if you decide not to order at all, at least we also didn't, quote unquote, waste our time. And when I say waste our time, I don't see anything that I've done so far as a waste of time. In life, I don't see anything good, bad, ugly that happens to me as a waste of time. It's a lesson, right? If I talk to somebody today who doesn't order through BCS, I probably learned something that I didn't know going into that conversation that might apply to the next person, right? So nothing is a waste in my opinion, but it is better to know that when you came into a space, everything that we had was, we put everything aside and we're making time for you. It's your appointment. It's your slot, right? So that's what, we're thinking about doing. And it's going to come out. I think it's good for everybody. I don't know anyone else that does this, rebatable consultation. I haven't seen it, but I felt like it was fair to do, to make sure that we're getting people who are serious about, using our services, make a soft commitment, right, to our time or for our time, and we give it back, at the end of the day. What else? Well, call to action. So, at this point, I appreciate you watching this video. I know it's long. It's a long one. If I can, I'll cut some of it out to make sure that it flows well. But as much as possible, I like coming to you heart to heart, right? So you understand, where this is coming from. I try not to edit a lot of my videos too much because it removes the authenticity of the message. And I beg you to please subscribe to the BCS channel. There are customers who are happy with what we do. Sometimes I share some of the videos on that channel instead of this one, in a quest to disassociate, right, personal from business as much as possible. I know sometimes those two things are going to bleed, and for me, that's somewhat okay. But as much as possible, we would want to channel all the BCS content onto the BCS channel. So please help us by clicking on the subscribe link or scanning this QR code that I'll put on the screen here to take you to the BCS channel, the BuildConnect Solutions YouTube channel. Subscribe to that and support that channel grow as well. Once again, I appreciate you. Support this channel, share this video to other people, and for me, the best is yet to come. We are learning and we're growing, and we have a lot of good content to share with you guys. People who are who have used our services and are happy. And I believe if you came and you tried us, you would attest to the fact that we give good service. That's one of the things that is important to me, customer service. We want to treat you the way we would want to be treated, right? So once again, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you. Thank you for being part of this family. Thank you for all your support, the kind words. Thank you for everyone who told me how impressed you are with my patience. And with that, I'll give you one more takeaway. Being impatient doesn't solve the problem, right? Especially when you're time pressed. So as much as possible and as quickly as possible, when you find problems in the building journey in Ghana or in life in general, right? Hurry up and figure out a way to get to a place of solutioning. And once you get to that point, you realize that, what looked like a mountain, was not necessarily a mountain, right? It's a hill that you can scale. And when you get to the other side of it, you'll be stronger and you would give yourself, more kudos. Thank you. I appreciate you. And until I share more content with you, thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.